And so with me, what they try to do is crazy, and I find that very disturbing. Is that they've been trying to what was the word? Make it seem like, and this is something they're gonna do. They do a lot. They try to make you believe that this is their financial resources, material, and they're doing that to you with their own means, resources, technology. They are clowns. They are human clowns. Because one thing you're going to find very surreal is how people all around the world saying the exact same thing. Describing the same tactics, describing the same ways of disorienting you, describing of the pain and the torture that you go through. For me, as I'm making this video, what they're doing to my organs, they hate it. But I want to see this till my last breath, because I know that we all gonna get our blessings. They are torturing me today with this technology, but who knows what technology, they will need. Like, let's just say they are using radiation on me. Who knows, maybe radiation will be used on them. I'm the one with my organs failing. Who knows, maybe their organs will be failing. To be determined. I'm just thankful that this is happening to me. These people are doing this thing to me. And I'm seeing them for what they are. This is a dignified life. Dignified death. Because I'm dying the same way this three-week-old baby is dying. This woman who's been suffering for years, being tortured, not because she's sick naturally, it's because they're making this person sick. I'm dying like this woman in New Zealand, this woman in Florida, trying to survive. I'm in good, I'm dying with it. Well, these people can be dying while doing these things to me. Because sickness and diseases are real. That's why you should be maximizing your life. You should make the best of your moments. They're not maybe dying, but I'm saying, who knows when this day comes? And I want them to just live the indignified life as much as they can, because I make it more indignified. Why? Because they wanted to escape. They wanted to paint this story, this fantasy of what this is about. Listen, this is one thing that is just the most illogical ways. Listen, today they make me have this nasty reaction toward children, little kids especially, the babies. When they make me have these experiences, this is what they say. What we're doing to your brain is we're making your brain experience what you experienced when you were a kid. A kid, vary from early teen to way preteen, which on its own should be descriptive of how illogical it is. What do you mean you make my brain being a child's brain? What do you mean? You understand how stupid this sounds? Imagine I look at a grown-ass woman or man and it's like, hey, we're making your brain being a brain of a child. Which is not even true. They just have rewired even my childhood memories. But they talk about, oh no, but what you did as a kid. There was this trash. I was in the shower. What I did as a kid in middle school, and I'm not trying to minimize it, but they want to exaggerate it. I did something to myself. I don't want to go into details, but it's just me as a kid in middle school, 13, 14 years old, to myself, I just discovered myself in certain ways, as kids at that age discover themselves. And I couldn't stop doing what I was doing as a kid at that age. Because what I did is something that I did to myself, they've been trying to make me imagine not doing that to myself, but somebody else participating in doing this, something like that nature. I don't want to go into the details. And so I mentioned a lot. I've mentioned many times how they say you used her hands, and they make me imagine. They've made me imagine it in a different fashion. Now let me tell you this: thinking about what I actually did as a child on its own, without the exaggerated version, it's still something I don't want to imagine. I'm a grown man thinking about the stupid thing, I did as a child. But I understand this is what kids are capable of doing, and as much as I'm disturbed, not even I'm like, annoyed by it. I gotta accept it. This is me as a kid doing some damn thing, impulsive act of a child. These people, because what I just said is the reality of things. Kids can do something. Kids can do impulsive acts like this, and unfortunately for this trash, is not what they wish it was. They wished I molested this child. They wish I used her hand, whatever. But the truth is, I did something to myself as a child. So I'm in the shower. She's like, you used her hand, you trash ass. Try to make me imagine that. And you know why she does that? Do you know why she wants me to think this way? It's because in this program, something they commonly do to even children is that they sexually torture children. You're going to hear a 3-year-old grabbing his testicle because they can target the sexual organs or even children. So you understand somebody working in a program that does that to babies, 3-year-old, and older kids, wanting me to block it out, exaggerating what I did as a child as an impulsive middle schooler who did something one time, in order to let her fantasize that she's some kind of avenger, that she's punishing me, her involved in a program where sexual torture is happening to 3-year-old. It is disgusting. So for me, I'm like, if I ever seen you in person and you think I'm not going to bring that up and say, oh, remember when you were trying to use her hand when I know you because you tortured kids' testicles, babies. Or even if you yourself didn't participate in the specific torture of this baby, you're involved in a program, that's what they do. Because I understand, you feel like God. You enjoy this feeling of being able to do these things. He empowers these low lives. Everybody finds some kind of benefit, even this woman in front of you. Can you imagine you can do all these things to a human being with technology that is damn near science fictional? Oh, you're going to dumb yourself down when you need to cope with the reality. You, with kids of all ages, be involved in a program where children are being tortured. But you find ways to trick yourself into being able to do these things. Even though you know you're doing this thing because you're in a program that does these things to kids. Okay. Now let me just say how stupid things get. So when they make me experience this nasty manipulation, like, no, we mapped it to you as a kid. Remember what you did as a kid? It's like, I wasn't even thinking like that when I was a kid. But you're making me have these memories, experience these ways. But the way they have done, my brain is so manipulative, target visual. Sometimes I hope that it's so hard to articulate the way they manipulate my brain. When I was an older teen, in my mid to late teens, right, 16, 17, I was with somebody who was 10 years older than me. Right? So she was an adult. This is a moment in my life that was a moment I thought about a lot of times. In my young adulthood, I was thinking about it all the time till my maybe mid-20s, late 20s. I was thinking about her. This is somebody that I would say her name just like that, just sometimes if I needed to snap out of something, I'll say her name. Now, it doesn't take too much of an analyst to know, like, okay, this person, this is really shows how impactful it was. I started getting in communication with her again for the sole purpose of this. These people want me to be accepting of this manipulation, but I want to damn them. But you know how they try to counter this? Which is, you gotta understand how this just damn the whole the whole painting is just like so confusing. So they make me feel this feeling toward this woman. Of course, she was a woman then. That's, of course, I felt. I was saying her name all the time. But she's like, you see how you felt about her? What? Yes. This 10 years older than me, that when I was a teenager, was with her, who are saying her name all the time, thinking about her all the time. Yes. So you see, that's the real feeling. So we mapped it. It's like, no. I've had so much reaction toward her. Even naturally, if I was talking to her, I will feel something. Because the truth is, she has impacted me in some ways. You know, if you grew up thinking about this person all the time, even to your adulthood, you still get a little something when you talk to her. It's like, you see, no, then we made you, we mapped you when you were a kid. What? You falsified my childhood, and on top of that, you talk about you make me be a child? I was an adult thinking about her. I was an adult thinking about saying her name. I was an adult creating these different scenarios of how things would have. This thing that you'd create, this is what you make me experience today. Then just to say, no, it's you thought like that when you were a kid, you delusional trash. And so today when they forced me to have sexual reaction toward these babies, it's like, no, you see, when after you felt like that when you were a kid, no. It's like, no, but you see, you felt like that with this woman who's older than you, 10 years older than you, and you see, this is how stupid it gets. Those two doesn't even make sense. Are you saying these little babies are making me experience this way? It's natural? And when I'm looking at this older woman, it's stupidity. They are so confusing, but the truth is they have been doing this pedophilia type of torture. They want me to accept these manipulations. So they use whatever they can to make you think, make you have this like ways of thinking about this thing happening to you as credible. No. You can make me think of something I experienced for real, but you're going to use that as a deceptive tactic to make me accept this manipulation you make me have. This is the name of the game they've been playing with. What I'm saying is, this is a lot of mind games that you're going to hear. Some of the tactics are, listen, it's crazy. It's like, hey, this is real, so that means this is real. You had this real feeling toward this woman older than you. So this thing that you experience toward children, that's you. It's natural. It's you. Matter of fact, it's not maybe natural, but maybe it's you when you were a kid. Retardation. But the truth is, they rewire your brain in these disgusting ways, and it's usually meant to break you down. And then they try to make you accept this manipulation, but whatever mind game they can make you have. And your brain being so messed up, they can box it in the way they want it. But you can understand, there's literally testimonies of people experience the same thing toward children, forcing them to have sexual stimulation toward children. Like, this is a specific tactic. They specifically target subjects and forcing them to have sexual stimulations toward children. They rewire your brain. But the thing is, with me, they want me to accept the way they rewire my brain and try to make me feel credible and try to make me see them as a credible people, really putting things together. They're just analyzing and they're mapping things together. They're trash and they use a lot of mind games. You're going to hear that too. To try to make you accept these things. They want me to look at these people as these people truly analyzing your brain. They're not rewiring your brain. This is not EEG heterodyning, cloning. It's EEG mining. They are clowns wanting you to accept this manipulation, and I've been calling it out since day one. Okay, let me start with this. In 2020, December 2020, I'm sorry, they made me say the wrong date, and you see how I manipulated. In beginning of 2020, before knowing the word target individual and what is a target individual, I was writing letters. I was writing letters to all kind of media outlets. I didn't know what this was about, but I was like, you know what? Before I die, let me say something because this is wrong. What they're doing is crazy. I had no idea about what this was about. So this is me not knowing anything about target individual, but me saying, okay, before something happens to me, let me just try to tell my story. Listen to this.
My name is X, and I currently live in New York City. I'm reaching out to you because I'm hoping my story will be told and some justice will be found. My story starts in late 2013 when I started working for a company called X, based in X. You might be familiar with the company, since the New York Times wrote an article about the owners of the company. The article was titled X. This was my first real job out of college, and I joined the SEM digital marketing team, which in my brain, and was able to communicate that I'm aware of how crazy and far-fetched 2019, something unimaginable happened to me. In my head, like somebody put a bug in my brain, and was able to communicate through my brain. I was not scared to hear the voice, but it felt surreal. Told me I was going to be deported. Based on those, as a 14-year-old middle school life for what I have done, and the neighboring apartment, would confirm and signify that whatever was said in my brain was in fact real, and not the figment of my imagination. Since that day, my mind has not been the same. Feels as my brain is being manipulated, and I'm having issues processing and controlling my brain. Reaction, and it feels like I have no control of my brain. I'm unable to think like I used to, and I feel like my brain has been submerged with horrible images. I'm unable to articulate everything that is going on in my brain, but I know everybody around me is aware of what's been done to me and are participating in it. I know what I'm saying is quite unbelievable, but know my story needs to be told, or I should at least attempt to tell it. To be clear, I'm saying my brain was hacked, meaning whoever did it is able to read my mind, manipulate my brain, and let other access it. I doubt that I'll be alive by the time my story will be told, but if that's my last contribution, I would gladly die for it. My theory on how I ended up in this circumstance is, I pissed some of the top management.
You can see I kind of skipped around because they're trying to create some battles but basically I wrote this letter thinking that before I die I'd rather do this, and I described what happened on that day. But on August 19, 2019 this happened, and so ever since that day my brain hasn't been the same, and they were trying to make me believe that they'll pay for what I did when I was in middle school. And by the way, they still trying to exaggerate, and you're gonna hear these people talking to me, tell me how I'm gonna pay for what I did in high school, in middle school. You hear me even try to change the wordage because it was middle school, 13, 14. I'm not even sure if I was fully 14 at that point. If I was not, I was about to turn 14. But having to exaggerate why I did that. But you heard at the end. And we get back to these people talking about making me pay for what I did as a child, which this is why they exaggerate, using her hand, all this nastiness, try to exaggerate what I did as a child. That I completely forgot, because obviously the truth is, and fortunately, I'm going to be honest, as a child, what I did as a child, because I was a kid, and this was something that really meant nothing to me as a child. It was such an impulsive moment of a kid that it just disappeared. Whoop. Never thought about it ever again. It's not something I wanted to do again. It was completely never thought of ever again. What you expect from a child who does something impulsive. Now, something I said here is ever since August 19, 2019, my brain has not been the same. I've been processing things the same way, and my brain reaction haven't been the same. This is before I find out about being a target individual. I have no idea what a target individual is. I think that I'm the only one experiencing that, and it's my duty to say, to make sure that people hear about these things. Then after the summer of 2020, I searched for target individual. Now I figure out, okay, this is what this is about. I found out this.
To interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. the difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
Brains. And so this gets into what's called there are four different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well, because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Well, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true.
My name is Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As I understand the memorandum from the president, it's for you to determine if current legislation is adequate in protecting individuals and if there's any ongoing experimentation. In reviewing the common rule, it's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DoD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB is looking at informed consent. As a physician, relative to some of what you're hearing today, in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons, microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation of being exposed to electromagnetic radiation, non-ionizing radiation for the use of cognitive control or behavior control. I submitted a paper to you, and there's another paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City, alluding to the same thing.
Thank you.
Mrs. Hall? You might guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that, why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
Cognitive warfare.
Exactly. It's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds.
Personalities.
And it's like Chinese torture. I mean, okay,
So it's clear that your brain is also manipulated. They manipulate it in a way that is disturbing, offensive, and foul to break you down. And there is this pedophilia type of tormenting tactic they've been utilizing. Let me just bring back what you just heard. And listen to it in a slow motion. Listen to this.
Once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare.
The human nervous system, in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions, or bodily functions for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
So, literally saying that you can be manipulated in ways that you have the reaction they want you to have, the thoughts that they want you to have. They rewire your thought process. They rewire your brain. And so this is kind of clear. At that point, it's like, okay, it's clear. And you heard that this is like offensive information warfare, where they want you to experience something that's disturbing. Oh, and by the way, they play these mind games to try to make you think that this is anything but this massive government in a way that you want to look at it. So you look at them as these people who aren't using you as a test subject, but it's just a group of this individual that, listen to this.
So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis, that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
So they have these ways of trying to present themselves as something else but the reality of what they do. And you see these mind games, because listen, they do this pedophilia type of torture. You see how they rewire your brain? You hear that they do these things. Listen to this testimony of a target individual saying similar manipulations to get this kind of reaction. Listen to that.
Referred to as malodorants. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams.
Human breakdown tactic of belief systems into human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
My privacy that you have taken away from me and my family. Bim said the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ass, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting thing. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing.
So it's just obvious that they have these tactics of rewiring your brain, and your brain is rewired in disgusting ways to disturb you. Oh, by the way, sexual arousals are manipulated continuously to disturb you.
This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal, or it can sort of turn off the...
So you are validated. First of all, you know yourself. You heard my first letter saying, since that day, I've been thinking the same. Been manipulated to experience these disgusting things. But they have these mind games where, especially with time, your brain is just so ravaged and manipulated that this is still trying to make you believe these things by creating these ways of trying to have some ways. And this is like this part of the like deception techniques to see what deceptive tactic is going to work for this individual to accept this manipulation that we're obviously making him experience. So no, we mapped it, we did it, but you see how you felt about this person that's 10 years older than you and how it made you feel like, so that means that's true. Like, no, you are able to manipulate me in so many ways, and you've been doing that since day one. They manipulate memories too. And sometimes to try to make you accept false memory, they bring up real memories. They've been doing that all the time. It's the way they've been trying to make me accept these false memories. So, for example, they bring up the memory of how I reacted or felt toward this woman who's 10 years older than me when I was a teenager. To try to make me accept this false memory of me when I was younger. And be like, no, we mapped it to that. It's just nonsensical. But this is the games they play.
Able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example, artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
So you can only imagine You can only imagine um, the kind of back and forth they try to create. It's part of these mind games. Listen to this.
Controlling the enemy. The book, The Art of War, is an excellent short read, and it's to make your enemy believe you are near when you are far. It's to believe you are weak when you are strong. It's to believe you are, unorganized when you're very smart and strategic. And so they do the games along with the torture scripts, right? Recognize when you're very smart and strategic. And so they play all these games along with the torture scripts, right out of the books, on the target. And they make them believe that their neighbor.
So this is the games. It's all about games and different ways of playing with it. So it's all about trying to create this false reality. And the games are just played, as I said. I know it sounds insane to try to play this game when you disvalidate it. You heard this. I did not make up any of these things. You heard these people saying how they rewire the brain. This is like an offensive information type of warfare. They can manipulate your memories. They have these tactics where they do this pedophilia type of torture that's continuously. And this word pedophilia type of torture having never been in my vocabulary till I heard this testimonial from a target individual. You hear that this is a weapon development where it's mostly cognitive control, meaning control your ability to think. So, and more than just thinking, but it's obvious. So you have people like her, who you look at her. She's supposed to present herself in ways that you're supposed to accept this facade. And you heard that they try to make you believe that's anything but this massive government doing that to you. And what is this government? Okay. Now comes the reality of how foul these human beings are. The way, for example, right now, what's happening to my body? I'm slowly breaking down. My organs are being destroyed. I'm losing my teeth. I haven't lost it yet, but I can feel them slowly decaying away. My organs, man, I can feel the whole portion of my body. My digestive organs, my pancreas, my kidneys, all of that just like breaking down. I know there'll be a day when it'll be completely shut down. This is why I make these videos. I'm speaking, understanding the day is coming where I will not be able to. But I'm not sad. Because before this happened, this is the validation I've heard. Now, these people, first of all, listen to what they do to women. Then we're going to hear what they do to children. One of the breakdown tactics is using this technology, which can do things to your body remotely. They can do things to you. You can feel like things are happening to you. And one common tactic is this torment, sexual torture. That's just so foul. Listen to this.
Used.
If you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape. And forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
So you hear that? Sexual torture is done. But the fact that as I was listening to that, they were bringing up the daughter of some coworker of mine that they always mess with me because she's a baby. She's like an 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid. Nasty stimulation. Like I said, the behavior manipulation, where not even behavior, like reactions they make you have. They give me sexual stimulation on this baby. It's so nasty. They can play with your stimulation, your libido, your perception. It's so nasty. But listen to the physical torture, or at least what it feels like physical. that they do these things to women that is so nasty and foul, and then try to present themselves as this like femme fatale, avenging. It's so disgusting. How can you be? These people deserve things that is now on this earth, but it's not for me to do. They will get whatever comes to them, whoever participates. You know what I've noticed, especially with women, they have this ability to think that making them being women, I should think that this is a program that's different than what it is, because you're a woman. That's because the participation of women are involved in my program. This is a program where they're avenging, they're punishing me. First of all, listen to this woman speaking up about why is there's so many females doing that to women.
But I was going to be shot in the face, and it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you truly shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voice of Skull, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them? Basically, you know, they call me retarded bitch and all of this here, but
So you clearly hear there's a lot of female participating in the torture of women. It doesn't end there. Then you hear this woman talk about her targeting, and listen to her testimony.
You feel that you've been injustice?
You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me?
Well, in terms of your being a victim.
I mean, what I'm feeling?
Yeah, explain a little bit to me how you perceive yourself as being.
I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, how do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that? I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, you're mentally sound as a bell. He said, I don't have any idea what's going on with you. When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock up my rectum. I get electric shock up my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering. Does that answer your question?
I'm trying to find what's the source of
The
these.
source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2970 that if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
So you hear this woman saying these horrible things that happened to her, and there's a lot of the target individuals are women. I don't know if mostly are defenseless women, as in women, but they actually are also a lot of men. But there's enough, like significant amount of women, a high percentage. Now, listen to what some of the things they do to women.
but I was going to be shot in the face. And it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you truly shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voice of Skull, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them? Basically, you know, they call me retarded bitch and all of this here, but I was
ultimately controlling the
already being used. I mean,
if you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape and forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
Experiences, including my reactions and responses, rocking, swaying, jolting. The torture was They also often force vaginal all over my knees and hands when hitting the hard floor. Then once on the floor, I would be attacked so severely, nearly to the point of passing out and rolling my eyes to the back of my head in such excruciating agony for many, many hours on a regular, nearly daily basis. The nature and level of extreme torture I have experienced for the past 3 years is simply indescribable. Not even the video recordings could truly capture the internal experience, especially when the torture involves both physical and mental psychological factors and the direct manipulation of my internal experiences, including my reactions and responses to the torture. The Polish Minister of Defense later retracted all his statements, denying the existence of electronic assault crimes. The nature of the torture I have been experiencing has been highly sexual in nature and highly perverted, involving many combinations of sensory and motor manipulation of my mind and body, and of the people around me. This includes many different types of zaps to varying degrees to the genitals, butt, anus, and the entire pelvic area. This also includes many kinds of movements, such as the rocking, swaying, jolting, vibrating, and shaking of my entire body or various body parts, specifically in a sexual way. The severe vibration is a highly noxious stimuli and is very intolerable. They sometimes do pulses or throbbing sensations on the genitals too, etc. There are also body movements such as rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly. I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes. It also includes videos of violence and grotesque figures, and sometimes numbers and other symbols used to threaten torture. This forces me to open my eyes, even when I'm so sleep deprived. I experience frequent, severe forced movements of my eyeballs side to side, up and down, and bulging in and out. The forced eyeball movements are very often extreme, and I experience it often for many hours at a time, particularly through the night, nearly every night. This is often combined with other forms of torture. They also inflict forced biting, where they make me bite my hands and arms forcefully, leaving severe bite marks and bruises. I sometimes have to sleep with 2 pairs of gloves on my hands to help prevent the severe, painful bite marks and bruising. They are horribly violent, and they often threaten more extreme forms of violence. One of the things that the V2K repeats often is, "We only get worse." They also often zap my genitals very forcefully, while at the same time forcing repeated, strong, painful muscle contractions all over my body that are very exhausting, so that it feels as though I ran a marathon through the night instead of sleeping. This is one of the reasons why I have not been able to exercise since this level of torture started in August of 2015, when I was previously very physically active and fit. The chronic severe sleep deprivation plus so much torture day and night has completely exhausted me and debilitated my muscles. I have seen significant muscle weakness and flaccidity since 2015. Additionally, I experience frequent planted dreams and dream manipulation. They have also done planted.
And the plan is that Mr. Juan Chuck back here will be has the list of folks that will be offering comment. And maybe the thing to do is to just dive into that. I want to remind you before we do that the commission, of course, is charged by President Obama to be looking at bioethical issues generated by novel and emerging research in biomedicine and related areas of science and technology, and to promote policies and practices that assure ethical responsibility. And remind you that the specific charge on this meeting has been around looking at on the topic of federal standards regarding human subjects research. So with that background and the amount of, each person I believe has a minute and a half is the way we've been able to try to cram in as many comments as possible. So, Juan, if you're ready for the first.
Ms. Cassandra Lewis?
Hi, Ms. Lewis.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Cassandra Lewis, and I'm a targeted individual from Baltimore, Maryland. My story may sound disjointed. I'm trying to keep it within the minute and a half. I worked as a legal secretary at Hogan & Hartson in Washington, D.C. It is now called Hogan Lovells. Attorney Jan McDavid made a client mistake that she tried to blame on me. I then refused to work for Ms. McDavid. Shortly thereafter, strange and inexplicable events occurred on my job, and after being fired, followed me to my home and to all my travels. Attorney Christopher J. Hagan, formerly of Hogan & Hartson, Mr. Samuel Conrad, he's a retired security administrator of Hogan & Hartson, and Robert Johnston, who is the current firm administrator of Hogan Lovells, are responsible for my targeting. I believe to protect Ms. McDavid's reputation, a phone call was made to whom and why they did this to me. I truly just speculate. Gang stalking and harassment was used to implement this non-consensual biotechnology application that is being used on me. I now experience involuntary limb movements. I receive stingings. I get pains to my head, to my abdomen, to my vaginal area, and to my anal area. I am receiving from a language that I read concerning this technology. It is called Medusa, developed by the Navy, is being used on me. I get burning on my lower legs and my ankles. I get ringing in my ears that's pitched. It's like they pitch it. I get pulsing sensations in my body. I get an electrical current, an electrical sensation that goes up and down through my body and can be isolated to different parts of my body. I get severe tingling on the soles of my feet. I'm almost done. It's almost like being electrocuted, and the first time I experienced this was walking into a bank. I get buzzing sensations on the soles of my feet and individual toes. I also get facial manipulations, just to name a few of the things that happen to me. I feel as though I am being roboticized. These are very strange occurrences, and I would like for all the targeted individuals in this room to stand up and to show yourself. My story is similar to a lot of these people.
You feel that you've been injustice? You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me?
Well, in terms of you being a victim.
You mean what I'm feeling?
Yeah, explain a little bit to me how you perceive yourself as being.
I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, how do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that? I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, you're mentally sound as a bell. He said, I don't have any idea what's going on with you. When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock of my rectum. I get
paper without quivering. Does that answer your question?
I'm trying to find what's the source of
The source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2970 that if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women. They sent me to the mental ward because they said I did this to myself. So it never hurt me. I have been a victim since 2007. You can't see this. Life has been destroyed in every possible way, and every day has been a struggle for me.
Highly perverted, involving many combinations of sensory and motor manipulation of my mind and body, and of the people around me. This includes many different types of zaps to varying degrees to the genitals, butt, anus, and the entire pelvic area. This also includes many kinds of movements, such as the rocking, swaying, jolting, vibrating, and shaking of my entire body or various body parts, specifically in a sexual way. The severe vibration is a highly noxious stimuli and is very intolerable. They sometimes do pulses or throbbing sensations on the genitals too, etc. There are also body movements such as rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly.
I'm going to refer to a paper from Professor McCoy at the University of Wisconsin on no-touch torture. He talks about a total assault on all senses and sensibilities, auditory, visual, tactile, temporal, temperature, and survival, refined through years of practice. Sensory disorientation relies on a mix of sensory overload and sensory deprivation via banal procedures, isolation, then intense interrogation, heat and cold, light and dark, noise and silence, for a systematic attack on all human stimuli. I've been a human subject for experimentation for almost 2 years, and I've contacted Dr. Hall. I stand with a very large group. Excuse me, I'm very nervous, but I'm very tired of having my rights taken away. And thank you for hearing me, and thank you.
Over my legs and sometimes on my face and arms. The first incident of this was so extreme and highly traumatizing that it made me let out a most horrific piercing scream. This is completely sensory, so it leaves no marks, but it feels like you're being thrown into a fire while still alive. One day in 2015, also, I was awakened in the middle of the night with my left arm completely limp, as though there was no bone in it, or as though it had been paralyzed, and it had a horrific numb-like sensation in addition to a severe burning sensation. I awoke suddenly in the most extreme, piercing screams, not knowing what to do other than to just cradle the totally flaccid arm in my other hand while screaming hysterically, and then it quickly returned to normal, but left me very traumatized. Something they have been doing for about the past 4 months or so has been the symptoms of a yeast infection, which they turn off or on, as well as up or down in severity. Right after nearly every shower, and sometimes during the shower, they do severe symptoms of a yeast infection, sometimes making me scratch my genitals so much that it leaves my genitals painfully raw, making it hard to walk or sit or go to the bathroom.
In a way, I'm very sorry to address you like this because I think that what you're doing is very admirable. But I'm here to represent this other group, and I am also targeted, and this is my story. My name is Sandra Fields. I'm an architect, recipient of Who's Who of Women in America Achievement Award, and have run a successful business for over 28 years. My life and livelihood have been compromised for the last 11 years by being attacked by electromagnetic radiation torture and by organized stalking. I cannot live in my rent-stabilized apartment in New York City as a result of this torture. I'm currently staying in motels and friends' houses in the last year.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leslie Crawford. I'm here from the state of Michigan. I wanted to speak about biotechnology applications being utilized on my person. I have medical reports showing eye damage being done to my eyes. My eyes does not have a mirror image. I also have nano wiring inside my eyes. I have pictures of the actual implants from the eye doctor. Once enlarging the nano implants, you will see a copy of the actual particles in my eyes. I have CAT scans, MRIs, and PETs showing wiring, nano wiring in my head. This is my brain. It's straight from the right side to the left side of my head. I also have implants in my chin, in the chin region on both sides. One side shows a wire, the other side shows the actual implant. Implant particle devices coming down through here. Projectiles of the nanoparticles on the side of my head. Enlarged pictures. These crimes is happening in America. This is a domestic problem, not only international. The victims is not being just victimized individually. We are being victimized and our family members as well. Gang stalking tactics and harassment was utilized to implement us into this program unconsensually.
Leslie, I think your comments reinforce much of what we've heard. And if you don't mind, I'd like to make room for others at the microphone now, since it seems to be reinforcing. Juan, I'd ask you to pick somebody, this gentleman right here. Yep.
She's been waiting.
I'm sorry, who's been waiting? Oh, yeah, please.
My name is Eugenia Durden.
I'm sorry, Eugenia?
Eugenia Durden, yes. Everything I've heard from this commission and this panel about ethics, they were mostly talk about pharmaceuticals research, but I haven't heard anyone talking about a psychotronic weapon research or bioelectromagnetic weapon research. Who in this panel are familiar with the psychotronic weapon? Raise your hand, please. Who of you know about psychotronic weapons? Any one of you? Psychotronic bioelectromagnetic weapons. Are you familiar with that?
Not at all.
No? Okay. In this audience, is anybody familiar with a psychotronic weapon? Okay. Okay, the audience is familiar with that, and I think that in order for a panel or a commission to be able to help this problem and this issue, we'll have to have more knowledge on what psychotronic weapons are. I am physically leashed from my neck to the electromagnetic power of one of the weapons that is being used against me. I get tortured day and night. At night is with nightmares and all kinds of dreams that I don't want in my head. And throughout the day is my body. They prod with my neurological system, so they do anything to my body. Sometimes it's painful, sometimes it makes me sick. It makes me want to throw up. Sometimes I feel I'm going to have a heart attack. They do all kinds of things like jitter, pulsating with the electromagnetic frequencies. They use a program called virtual reality that makes them feel that they are right in there in front of you. And as you know, electricity travels as fast as the light. And you know how fast that travels, right? How fast does it travel? Anybody?
186,000 miles a second.
Very good.
Yes.
86.
I tell you what, though, we do need to hear
So I would appreciate if you get more.
Went to bed. I had, and they had. All of a sudden, I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and then used their telephone, so I could make airline, flight, because all I wanted to do was leave Chicago. And so I figured I'd make my plans in a hotel. I didn't think that they could hack the hotel. I was very naive back then. I didn't understand the full technology spectrum or even interest, and all I wanted to do was leave. So I was at a hotel on a relatively high floor, and they had, all of a sudden, I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and the night before I was attacked really bad, I noticed a maintenance man about 10 or 11 o'clock at night messing with all of the lights up and down the hallway. And as I'm sorry, I get kind of upset when I think about this because it's really messed up. And my spidey sense went off, and I was really kind of nervous about like what the hell he was doing out there, because he was kind of a sinister, he was real creepy kind of person. So the next night, I believe it was a Friday night, I went to bed. I had all of the doors, all the locks on the door, even the one that kind of like goes over that you can't open from the outside. I had everything locked up. Figured I was safe. I went to bed maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning. I woke up about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, bleeding out of every hole, sick. Someone was in my room, or had been in my room. Food was missing. My dogs were traumatized. I had been obviously sexually assaulted in all the worst ways possible. I got up, first thing I did was vomit. And all I wanted to do was I was just in shock. There was a do not disturb sign on my door, and I didn't do this. And there was lotion all over my bathroom floor. All I wanted to do was just get on a plane and get the hell away from everybody. And I was, very, very sick and in a lot of pain. I had already been denied a rape kit when I owned my house, and woke up, and my hair had obviously been pulled out, and there were earplugs in my bed. And I felt like someone had done something. I went to Palos Community Hospital under the directions of a non-compromised police officer who told me that if anything happened, to go right to the hospital. So I did. And I had a compromised doctor who treated me like a third-rate citizen and said she would give me an STD test and a drug test. But she refused me a rape kit. And so I had already been kind of traumatized with hospitals anyway, and honestly just wanted to leave. So I stayed in my room until about checkout. And then when I was downstairs waiting for my cab to come to take me to the airport, because I just was going to get on a plane, I had $10,000 in my pocket and just wanted to leave. There was a young man who had to have been no more than 23, 24 years old. And he comes up to me and he goes, promise you'll take me back to my room and I'll be okay. And like was mocking me. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know? And kind of looked at him, and there was a girl with him, a young girl, once again, shocked by how young they were. And she was like, no, like you don't do that. And I.
So, as you can hear what they do to women. And with me, you know, what they're trying to do is to try to find ways to counter the fact that they torture women in this fashion. And they make it sound like they're doing it for this woman called Courtney. But in fact, as I was listening to this testimony, which shows what kind of women they are, what kind of people they are, what they're involved in, what kind of men they are, in regard what this program does. They're making me imagine how I was thinking about this moment with me and Courtney, which is what they make me imagine. But the truth is, this is the reality. And people who can be involved in a program that does that to women, destroy their life, and then refuse them from having proper health care when it comes to even circumstances that are caused by this low life. They can try to vilify me, paint things in this fashion or not. The reality is what you just heard. You heard them say rape is extremely commonly used. It's commonly extremely used. It's extremely common, meaning that this is such a common thing. It's not just common, it's like extreme common. That is almost expected, especially for women, target individuals who are women. Now you have these people try to vilify you, try to create these storylines, this and that, but you thought, it's like, no, I didn't, but you're making me think about this. And it's not going to come for people who does these things. You know, this thing they tell me about how they're going to frame me, and I'm going to endure some Machiavellic torments and torture. It's going to be so bad. I'm like, yes, I understand. You understand what they're trying to counter? As a target individual, you have people like them who still want to present themselves as good people while involved in a program that does the atrocities that you just heard. This is not even everything. I mean, it's literally a daily torture for some of these women that is consistent of rape. They literally say, I've been raped every day of my life. And so you have these people that you see here who wants to paint themselves as this avenging femme fatale. You're a piece of slow life trash that are looking for how to paint yourself in this fashion so you can make me accept these manipulations to make it sound like you're punishing me when you are here torturing women in this fashion. While you're here coming up with even just try to make me no. But the truth is, you will never make me feel guilty, or you as an individual involved in a program that does these things to women can never make, if anything, these women who are torturing these ways, but low life like you, are the women that need help. And you know what they say? No, we support them. No, you don't, you piece of shit. You support the program that does this to them. Even though your support is not needed, you are a participant in a program that does these horrible things to women. So stop pretending you're doing for Courtney. Stop pretending you're doing for Brittany. Stop pretending you are here involved in a program that does this thing. Because me, when I see you, I connect with this woman. Talk about her horrible life and what's happening to her. I connect with the fact that I know that these women are being raped and tortured in these ways, these atrocities that's happening, and you're involved in this. And low life like you, just tell me how you're going to wait to see me go through some Machiavellic torture. I'd rather go through Machiavellic torture involved in a program that caused this kind of atrocities to women, and then try to present myself as some kind of avengist. Somebody who's avenging for the torture of women. You piece of shit. I'm sorry for the language. I'm sorry for me being emotional. But can you imagine seeing these people and me fully connecting them for what they're involved in? To try to even make me think, no, with Courtney, you even thought about it again. And it's like, no. But you who does these things to women? These horrible things to women? No. Never. I will never let you speak for Courtney when I know what you would do to Courtney if she's put in this program. I know. You heard the sample. It's extremely common to hear this target individual, which men also inclusive, and women, specifically women, deal with rape, torture. Meaning that majority of women in this program, which is a lot, have some kind of sexual torture. And you have this fucking trash somehow wanting you to forget about that and think that, oh no, we're everything but this mass government. But matter of fact, let me bring this out again, this tactic of trying to present themselves as something else but the reality of what they're part of. Listen to this.
So they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government.
So this is commonly used to try to disorient you, to make you think this is anything but this massive government doing this. You know what they were saying in order to counter that is like, oh, you're going to be extremely raped. Yes, I'm going to be extremely raped. And guess what? You'll be extremely common, use the rape tactics, the sexual torture onto women. I'd rather be extremely raped, extremely tormented, go through Machiavellic torture and everything that's horrible, than having to live the life where I do these things to people, or try to counter the reality of this is happening by saying things to try to disorient you from blocking out the reality of what these people is involved in. They want to enjoy what they're part of without really owning what they're part of. No, not with me. I'm sorry. I will not let you speak for Courtney, a woman that I know if she was put in this program, she'll be one of many other target individuals who are women, and common rape will be utilized on her. No. So on TI Day, I'm here saying the things that so many others. TI Day was TI Day 2020 and August 29, I believe. And it's me saying this. It's not only impacting men, but women and children all around the world. And bringing awareness of the horrible things that's happening to not only men, to not only a woman, but children. Listen to this.
And I am a victim of organized stalking, electronic harassment, microwave torture, B2K abuse, and I'm asking you to help us end this crime against humanity, which has impacted men, women, children all around the world.
Hi, I'm Wan from Malaysia. My family are targeted individuals. We are victims of cyber torture. And I will not give up. I will fight to the end.
And I'm a victim of organized
We need this to stop.
Electronic harassment. And I'm speaking to you on International Targeted Individual Day. I live in the U.S., in Illinois. And I'm a victim of organized
We need this to stop.
Electronic harassment, microwave torture.
I've been targeted for 9 years.
24/7.
Please become more aware of this crime and those that the crime is being committed against. We need your support and help in ending this crime.
Hello, my name is Wendy Brown. I'm a targeted individual who is living in New Zealand, but my targeting began in California. I'm an American citizen, and the targeting continues in New Zealand. I'm making this video in remembrance of Targeted Individual Day, our third annual Targeted Individual Day. And I'm asking that every honest-hearted human being open their eyes to a crime.
My name is Jeanette. I am 56 years old and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a victim of covert electronic harassment and torture. I am a targeted individual.
Wishes to hand down.
Why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me.
is brutally painful. I have a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, first floor, second floor, 2 garage, backyard, land, everything. Can't live in my house. My neighbors are shooting direct energy weapons through my house. I hold my heart like this. You know why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. Come get me. Oh, Lord, because I think I'm dying. I'm making this video
in an attempt to expose this horrific nightmare.
Hello, I'm making this video to honor the 3rd annual Targeted Individual Day. That's August 29th, 2020. My name is Linda Marie Sharp in Mendocino County, California, United States. I am a targeted person and have been for over 12 years. I am electronically tortured by directed energy weapons.
Hi, my name is...
So, I have people involved in what you just heard, doing these things to women, or involved in a program that does these things to women, wanting you to not only accept the manipulations, but make you believe that these people are here punishing you or avenging. Now, this is just what they do to women, which is horrible. But this is applied to children too. They torture children. Listen, I know what this is about. As this man earlier said, they need to utilize men, women, and children in ways that are disturbing for the purpose of developing the technology. The reason why I keep saying the same thing over and over and over is that I know one day I will not be able to say it. One day I won't be able to speak. One day I'll be so much in pain. One day I won't be alive. Maybe that day is coming sooner than I thought. But before that happens, this trash will never live in that fantasy where they are making me pay for anything while involved in a program that does these horrible things to women. And guess what? They do that to children too. Listen to what they do to children and listen to how foul these human beings are.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MK Ultra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan. And please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
And have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss, unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss, and cancer. Two of my children were born premature, which I attribute to this. Our son Dylan, now age 9, was born very premature. He was born at 31 weeks. During her pregnancy with Dylan, we were being targeted more so than other times. At the delivery, there were weird men walking and waiting around the hospital. Right outside our delivery room window, there was a white cargo van parked with 2 suspicious men inside. They were there the entire labor, a delivery. Our son had to be transported to another hospital 45 minutes away. When arriving to the Toa hospital, those same men and van were present. Three of my children have severe rashes that have not been explained by several doctors. These rashes have been present for several years at a time. If interested, I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner's syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner's syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured. Recently, I lost complete time. I exhibited the flashing lights. My 9-year-old son Dylan complained about the lights. You will often hear that vision is something that is greatly affected with this type of torture.
A speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said, "Ow," while looking up at me.
So, this is what they do to kids. This is the foulness of what they're part of. And you know, by the fact, when they were describing this 3-week-old having rash all over her body, this 3-week-old baby, little girl, and even saying that it just disturbed me, they started giving me stimulations. And then shortly after, there was like a blur picture of a kid, a baby, a toddler. they give me stimulation. It's this nasty when it comes to the rewiring of my brain. It is disgusting foulness. Not only they do these horrible things to men, but a lot of women go through horrible tortures too, which extremely common to hear sexual torture. Very common. I mean, as he said, extremely common to hear about sexual torture, especially with women. And you heard what they go through. Then you hear the torture of children, which to counter what they're saying about what's happening to their children, for me, is a manipulation of my mind. It's truly a cognitive warfare where, unfortunately, as a target individual, my brain continuously is rewired to disturb me. I know this video is one of so many. Why am I making the same videos so many times? It's not going to change what's going to happen to me. But one thing is for sure, is there's a lot of perps involved in this program. The stories they come up, the way they try to counter reality, the way they block out reality to deal with what they're part of, because this is what they're truly part of, is amazing. It's a coping mechanism that is magical. I mean, you heard how horrible this thing is, and they're involved in that. Now, why would they still be involved in that? It's because the ability of doing what they can do to us is just... I mean, some of these people participating as just like childlike minded people, like these kids, what they have to show for. Others are women like them, or men. But can you imagine have the ability to do all these things? We talk about brain being cognitively or manipulated. I mean, they are utilizing technology from DOD, because this is a DOD program, that is just unbelievable. It's just almost science fictional. They are, and they've called themselves many times gods, but anybody who's been calling themselves gods, never ends well, And some of them are just really just weak, low life. And others are accomplished people. Like, for example, this woman is not, she's not a nobody in the sense of she's done things in her life. She's a grown adult woman, professional woman. But they use this like facade as a psyop to get you to think in these bullshit ways. Listen, I'm not perfect. I know my imperfection very well. I know who I am as a person. I know my flaws. I know who I truly am, not the way I'm being manipulated. I understand this is how my brain can be rewired. And I will never be myself. As I said, on August 19, 2019, my brain has been completely rewired. I haven't been thinking the way I think naturally, organically. They've been changing who I am since that day. One thing they did, listen, they have completely rewired. For example, I was talking to this person. This is a perp, but a coworker. They always try to do something nasty, but she was talking about how she has neighbors, and these neighbors have this kind of kids there. She likes to hang out with them because she's about my age or so. And kids, especially like kids in like late teen, whatever, they have a different world. I guess it's like the transition between adulthood and before, like childhood and adulthood. But it's really a different world. It's still kind of, listen, it's not as innocent as the younger kids, but it's still kind of innocent, and they still think they're like adults, right? No, they think they're adults, but they don't understand how like they still sound like kids. They have other worries. Right, and she said, "Yeah, it's kind of cool that the energy is kind of like not cool, but it's like it's kind of like refreshing because they worry about some things that are just like not serious. It's just things that are not, it's just like, it's not the real world they're in. They're just kids, but they think whatever they deal with is really serious." And she's like, "Oh, she likes that because it's just like, oh, it's just like, oh." You're still like a kid, actually. And for me, they try to change in these different ways, because it's true. Like, you know, these kids, even though like the older kids are like in that transition stage, and some of them are, you know, even might look like the adults, they still have like, they're still childlike in certain ways. And it's almost I won't say like innocent like the younger kids, but it's still like, oh, you don't live in the real world. You live in a different world. It's not like, it's still like a child world. You're still in a different world. You don't, you know, like you don't deal with reality. And so I remember me when I was celibate, like before August 19, 2019, I would watch any content where there's no like, where even it's like kids in high school, whatever else, or even younger, where there's like things that would not take me, like wholesome kind of content, where the things that would not bring me to a state of sexual, where it's just like, they're still innocent, they're in a different world, it's not, you know, it will not take me anywhere. But they have rewired that reality, memories, everything's changed. It's just changing something else, and they want to paint you in different fashion. But like I said, there's kids here who are young. I don't even, some of them are like, they sound like they talk about 13, 14. So we're talking about like middle schoolers, and also older kids that are in high school. Talk about how they're gonna frame me and say I raped them and this and that. So they're prepping this whole thing. I've been talking about it. This nasty. This is, you know, like they obviously when I see them, I don't think of them as just these innocent kids. They're just, unfortunately, at this point, being groomed to be foul human beings. This is things that whatever years it's not coming back from. And they, you know, being childlike minded people, they're like, oh, we there, and they try to be all comical about it, but everything has come back in one way or another. You know, like, and to me, I see them as people, these kids will be doing that to women and children. They are being groomed to normalize what they're part of. You heard the testimonies of these women and children. They say these people are so young. Some of them are really young. Yes, there's a lot of young individuals involved in a program where they do these horrible things to even women, to children. So I don't have doubt that some of them will continue on and do these horrible things to even so much more vulnerable than me. And some of them have already got that. Already done that to people who are much more vulnerable than me, women or even children. Because this technology is this sophisticated. They don't need these cold-blooded murderers to be involved. No, you can see they're wearing their sweatpants and PJs. I mean, just watch you slowly die away. Doing the foulest things they can do to you remotely, because this is what this technology is capable of doing. A child can literally kill you while wearing their sweatpants, while wearing their pajamas. Because this is very sophisticated technology, and we're just used as guinea pigs to develop this technology. Now, reality has been not nice to them, because as they do these horrible things to us, they want you to imagine them as this like different, like they try to create a facade. The facade is a facade. It's not real. And me, I embarrass them by bringing up the reality of things. Often, it's provoking to them. Can you imagine you try to stay in character, and somebody who's keep breaking your character, in sense of like, I'm supposed to be this femme fatale, it's our world, this and that. Like, yeah, you're not. This is what you're part of. Listen, I was put by people, and the reason why I became a test subject in this program is because I used to work for not a governmental entity. I used to work for an organization, a private organization that had a lot of influence and still have a lot of influence in the government world. Today, I'm working for a different employer, but this after being a target individual. So at this point, wherever I'm going to go after becoming a target individual, it's going to be destruction, wherever I was going to go. The second my old employer put me in this program, the rest of my life would have been destroyed, wherever I go. So here, where I'm at now, They're completely different in the sense of how they present themselves and how they are than my employer. But I know at that point it doesn't matter because this employer is very conservative. Where I'm currently working, it's definitely not conservative in that way. At least it's diverse in different ways. But wherever I go, conservative or diverse or whatever, it's going to be horrible for me because once you become a target individual, everybody is incentivized to participate. But this is the reality. As I said, they create this personality that's falsified. And for me, I've been lucky that the employer I work for donated a lot of money to this individual, which for some reason, they haven't said, or they say this person's name in a very timid, special way. But perps, right? When the perps interact with you via voice to call, which is those voices that can pipe in your voice, in your head. When they say this name, they still try to sound fierce, but they are scared to say his name in a clear way, or they're not allowed. I don't know why. They're just being very timid with that. They say it in a very special way. But listen to who apparently they have issues saying his name in a way that's very clear.
And go a food courting. More. More even went to the mall to get into the holiday spirit. One woman recalls that she was 14 and working as Santa's helper at the Gadsden Mall in 1977 when Moore first spoke to her and told her she would look pretty. 2 years later, when she was 16, he asked her out on dates. He hit on one of Santa's elves. Well, a true evangelical, he's putting the Christ back in Christmas. Wow. And but hear the sleigh bells jingling, ring, ting, tingling too. It wasn't just the mall, folks. One Alabama journalist claims that Moore was also banned from the YMCA for his inappropriate behavior as soliciting sex from young girls. And don't forget, he did that while he was assistant DA.
So this very interesting person was a person that, and when I mean interesting, I'm just being comical because this guy was literally picking up kids as young as 14 years old when he was a 35-year-old man. While here they tell me how they're going to frame me with kids as the same age of this man was picking up. Right? Grooming these kids to say these things, but grooming these kids to respect this kind of people. Where you better not say his name in a clear way. Understanding how things are done. Now, obviously, this is a program that's led by governments, and let me just say this. It's obvious that the DoD has been working on technology that can alter the mind for a long time, or been researching on it. There's this program, which I will always bring up, called Project Pandora. Please listen to this.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. Human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
Now, you heard that. They've been working on technology that can control human behavior since the 60s and alter the mind, as you heard too. These entities And it's funny, I heard this woman, well, not even a woman, some childlike sounding person, say that, so nasty. It's so nasty. Saying something in regard of it's fate. She's right, in a sense. As I'm saying that, they still try to mess with me. It is fate. Because it's clear that these DoD entities are running this program. And these entities have had issues that keep coming up over and over and over and over. Even during the time when they were doing these things to me, when they initially started these manipulations, there was something that was coming up. First of all, let me show you something that came up in 2007. Oh, listen to this. In 2007, there was this huge investigation on this child porn website. It's disgusting. This was an investigation done by, I think, Homeland Security, and the reason why they were in charge of that is because this crime ring, these criminals were coming from Russia, no, not even Ukraine and Belarus, or some region over there. And finding out that the website these criminals were creating or had, there was a bunch of people working for the Pentagon, for the DoD. Listen to this.
Sensitive secrets, potentially making this. The Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets, potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them, at high levels across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Others also worked on actual military installations, including Edwards Air Force Base in California.
So this is something that showed some very high position people in the DoD, inclusive of DARPA. Matter of fact, actually, he was a program manager at DARPA. Not just anybody. They saw some child porn on his computer, his work computer. A program manager at DARPA. Not just a regular. And this is a program manager at DARPA. There's not that many. There's about 200 total. So a high-level position individual at DARPA. Yes, DARPA is this Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. And they handle all this technology that you hear about, this almost science fictional technology. And they have limitless funding. And this is basically the smartest human beings, not the smartest human beings, but they contract and recruit some of the smartest people to work on this technology. With limitless budgeting. Right? Now, that was in 2007. In 2019, something happened. In 2019, because in 2018, there was a study coming from a entity called the Child Protective Service related. This study showed something that was disturbing. They were studying the amount of child porn being trafficked and the networks that were used to traffic this child porn in the United States. In the whole United States, there was about 2,900 or so. They found that the DoD network, computer network, was the 19th out of 2,900, making them a very top tier amount, like top tier, like the top percentile. 19th out of 2,900. Listen to this.
Has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flickr, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially...
So because of that, they created this bill.
They say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who are being recognized as the ones who are perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, the notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head-on. Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a department...
So there's a bill created because there's so much child porn being downloaded, accessed, and shared by DoD employee. Those people are the people coming up with these tactics, this program, where they're using human subjects in this fashion, where they manipulate the brain in these ways. Now, you have these people working for these governmental entities telling you what they're doing to you is mapping to your brain and connecting things and disgusting low life. But in fact, as I was, the way they try to make me accept this thing is, purpose like her. When they hear me talk, because I think in their mind they have this expectation of how I'm supposed to sound like. And first of all, I try to be as polite as I can under these circumstances. It's not easy sometimes, but I don't want to be. I just don't want to. I want to maintain my composure. So I think they get shocked at some point when they hear me talk in a way that's calm and collected, and try to shake off what's happening to my brain or the manipulation, because I don't identify with this. I don't I don't subscribe or identify with what's happening to me. I know it's my brain being manipulated by people who are working for governmental entities with these issues. And these tactics are used to break you down. So I should never feel guilty for how I'm being manipulated to experience whatever I'm experiencing, because it's manipulations. It's somebody implant drugs in you, on you, whatever. And then you see the drug. You shouldn't feel guilty for the drug somebody else implanted The person implanting the drug should feel guilty. Not you. On top of that, if the person implanting the drug is some kind of drug lord with issue with drugs or drug addict, you understand? That's the case here. Those people are forcing you to experience this way, this nasty reactions, for the purpose, obviously, to break you down. This is offensive information warfare, in a sense. It's a cognitive warfare where they try to break you down. That's why they truly use these tactics. But this architectures of how to break you down happen to have a lot of problem with pedophilia. Now, is it a coincidence? Is it why? I don't know about that. But the reality, the fact is, there's a lot of pedophiles in the same agencies that are coming up with this very sophisticated technology and disturbing tactics to break you down. That's the reality. And you heard. This is not coming from a conspiracy theory place. The CNN literally wrote an article about this bill and saying in 2018, this Child Protective Service ranked the DoD as a top-tier network, computer network, where child porn is trafficked so much. There's so much child porn that they will consider them top tier in regard of child porn trafficking within a network. Matter of fact, listen to this here.
Watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services. The Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of Internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018. Meadows said...
Well, CNN saying these things. So they are here trying to paint you in this fashion. Matter of fact, right now they're making me... Because as they manipulate you to experience these things, they also want to present a painting of some sort of who they want you to be. It's a false personality. You heard this man saying that they have this personality rebuilt. Part of the rebuild is to find what they can use to make themselves think that this is validation. Try to find what can we, because the reality, they know who you are. It's so easy to figure out the real you. It takes 2 seconds. I mean, it's just that you don't need to be a psychiatrist to especially me. I'm not that complex. But they try to find what they can do. It's really work for them to find, okay, but this is happening. Okay, this and that. For example, for me, what they're trying to bring up is in 2014, I followed somebody on Snapchat. No idea who that person is. I'm looking at her. This person looks like she's a young adult. I'm a young adult. She's looking older than her age. Finding out later on that she was not an adult, but she just looked like an adult. You see, that's proof. You see the picture of her like this. And like you see now, you see a child. Like what? That's proof. That's the kind of things that you see. That's proof. Never talked to this person. Never had an interaction with this person. I have no idea who she really is, and I never had a single conversation in my life. When I say follow on some social media, it's just literally seeing what she does in her life. That's it. No single, not even close to an interaction. No idea who she is. Just see what she presents in her social media. And the truth is, she lives a really interesting life. She traveled the world. She goes places. She have fun. She go parties and stuff, the clubs. That's it. That's all I know about this person. That's it. But they're going to hold on to whatever they can to try to make you be this person that you're not. Whatever story they can try to put together is like it's such a this messy looking painting of you. Well, there's a lot of you. They try to find ways to paint you in different ways because today they manipulate you in these ways. Try to figure out how to paint you in this way while manipulating you today, every day, in ways that are disturbing. And I'm not letting that happen. I mean, I'm making it obvious how stupid it is. because reality, they couldn't say the name of this man. They have this ability to manipulate you, to have this nasty manipulation toward children, young people. But sometimes it's not even just children. Listen, if you're an adult and you look like a child, or you look young where it's not unsure, they can make me have the stimulation just for that. Matter of fact, what they sometimes do, they do that toward grown women, force me to get this exaggerated feeling. I'm like, what's happening? And then, because there's going to be a child around there coming up soon, then aim that stim is just so nasty. It's just continuous manipulations and playing with you to make you accept this manipulation. And looking, what can we do to make this painting be real? Anything. You go through my story, my videos, the way they have created new narrations of things and put things in this way, but you saw this, the sister of this person, you're like, yeah, this and that. You just try to put the stories in the way. And the memories, oh my gosh, manipulation of memories, non-stop. Your memories are rewired, manipulated. They fully have capability to manipulate your memories. So the perception of of what you had before is changed. The narration is changed. Everything's just changed. To paint this false picture of who you are. Because today you have these people who are being groomed to say the right name, or not say this name. This man who picked up kids as young as 14 years old, you can say this. You're a kid being trained to say, no, don't say this name like that. But start saying that this man raped you. To frame him. Do you understand the reality? And by the way, once again, this was a 2019 bill. In 2022, right? It's end 2021, but mostly like end December 2021. A BuzzFeed article comes out addressing certain, and not the nasty thing. So this was specific to the DoD. Oh, the U.S. intelligence, the CIA, all these entities have had issues with pedophilia. That's just disgusting. Listen to basically a quick summary of what this BuzzFeed came up with.
2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general evil?
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number 1, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number 2, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind?
So, yep. You heard that. I mean, this is why this Machiavelli torture is going to happen to me. Can you imagine? You have people of that nature, established individuals of all sorts, people that you're supposed to be respectable, people that you see them in a respectable way, trying to make you accept this manipulation, and then finding it the humiliating reality that not only they have these tactics of rewiring your brain, not only they have these tactics of changing your way of thinking and making you have experience all kind of manipulations, which consist of memories, so they can paint you the right way. But this entities not only does that to men, does that to women, and children also included in this program where they're being tortured. And the torture commonly utilize sexual torture. Oh, and by the way, there's people who've testified and showed a clear pattern, because a lot of our testimonies are very similar to one another. So you can clearly see a pattern, clearly. And you don't need to be an analyst to see a pattern. It's as easy as it gets. Literally, like saying things that just like surreal, like, oh my gosh, I mean, this is too much. What else do you need? I mean, you heard this man literally say, oh, this technology, right? They have this ability to not only capture your signal, but manipulate it. Your brain signal. What it means is they can get your EEG signal, manipulate it, and put it back in your brain to create a design reactions, emotion, thoughts. Matter of fact, these men say, oh, they rewire the thought process, they rewire the brain. And this is actually like an offensive information warfare. What do you mean? Oh, and then there's like these testimonies that shows, oh yeah, they make me experience these stimulations, this and that and that. That's pedophilia. A terminology called pedophilia type of torture comes out from a target individual who says this. I'm out here saying the same thing. Don't know about these words, these terminologies, but people are saying the same thing. They said it before I even said it. They said it before I even knew that people said these things. They are saying the exact same thing, showing a clear pattern that these people have been manipulating target individual in these ways. Why? To degrade them. Somebody said they alter the mind. Degrade your mind. Personality rebuilt. Basically building you in different ways. And them like, oh no, we're just rebuilding you like a kid. Like stupidity. This woman say they did this program of perversion, started with my dog, and then start people, and then young people and children. You hear this common tactics. Okay. It doesn't end there. Because, like I said, this thing can make you feel very aggressive. It can make you feel aggressive. Because this program is not just manipulation of your thoughts, your body, but you have a whole ecosystem of individuals who are trying to push you into insanity. This program contracts, obviously this person is a coworker. This person is not somebody who works for the DOD directly. She works in this office somewhere else that have nothing to do with the DOD, but you are, these entities, these DOD entities, because of the limitless funding, contract everybody around you to partake. And so you go to your workplace, people are doing things to you, saying things to degrade you. Your neighbors are doing things. Wherever you go, it follows you everywhere. You have people of all sorts. As I'm saying that, they try to do this thing in my lips. But you have people of all sorts doing this. But that's what they do. But what it has caused is mass shootings, unfortunately. Some of the mass shootings that we experienced not too long ago. Matter of fact, as last year, this mass shooting in Maine, as they try to make it seem like it's not a target individual. It was a target individual. He said the same thing that we all say. Going to places, you have people saying things, derogative things about you. They have this direct conversation. Sometimes you think somebody's but they can pipe in voices. So sometimes you can think somebody's saying something to you that they're not saying. And the things are always offensive, huh? Sometimes these people actually say these things and try to make you think you're crazy for hearing that. Saying some very foul things and then look at you and they'll be like, what's going on? They play this game. And some people ended up killing. A lot of people. So, listen to the testimonies. Not even the testimonies, sorry. Listen to the horrible things that have happened. Starting with in October of last year. This is what happened.
In Maine last week. From New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily. Today, the mass shooting that occurred in Maine last week, killing 18 people, was the country's deadliest of the year. It may also have been one of the most avoidable.
Army reservist.
Many months.
I mean, the first time when the local police are really made aware that this guy is a concern is about 5 months ago. Paranoid and angry. They also note he has collected about 10 to 15 guns that he started to sheriff's deputy to speak with the family. And in that interview, the teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. He's started to be increasingly paranoid.
Work with the Army Reserves.
I think that's right.
Okay, so what happens next?
So the next thing we know that happens is in July. Card travels with his reserve unit to West Point, New York for an annual training exercise. And there's a very concerning incident that takes place. They're all hanging out together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly. He shoves one at one point, and everyone is just freaked.
Why? Was a mentally unstable individual? This shotgun is the primary murder weapon. On it, he etched a number of carvings, including "End to the Torment," "Better Off This Way," and "My ELF Weapon." Alexis had been hearing voices and believed he was being bombarded by microwaves, something naval authorities knew about.
There are multiple indicators that Alexis held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra-low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. Diane, they never had a chance, and still no answers as to why so many red flags were missed.
As you say, so many red flags.
About his time spent here in New Mexico.
As sick as this may sound, I've even had stalkers follow me into church while I was in Las Cruces and in Houston. I've had stalkers follow me into church to harass me.
May had worked as a prosecutor in Las Cruces just weeks before the shooting. In his last words, May speaks of his paranoia and coins himself as a targeted individual who's been a victim of stalking and harassment. He talked about a trip to Houston where he said cars would drive by and honk their horns every 10 minutes to keep him on the edge and agitated.
Father, forgive me for what I'm about to do. Forgive me for all of my sins, past sins, present sins, any future sins.
So, this is how nasty it is. Can you imagine bringing this reality over and over and over? Matter of fact, they're still trying to make me think that this Robert Card mass shooting, which happened in October, the one with 18 people died, inclusive of one child. He shot up a place where there was a bunch of kids. Thankfully, only one died, but even that is sad. There could have been way more kids. Try to make me have doubt. I don't have doubt. Because I know the media will never say, hey, this is happening actually. And the truth is, he sounds exactly like a target individual. Everything he said was said by another target individual. And they tried to make it sound like, he was throwing so many grenades because as a reservist, he was working on this hand grenade like range. And that impacted the brain. And this is why he started hearing this and that. And I was like, okay. Well, he sounded exactly like so many other target individuals who's experienced this kind of targeting. They want me to be thinking that, he's going to be the only one who've done this kind of things, who going to hear this kind of things said to him in these degrading ways, describing exactly what a target individual has described it in this very specific way, because things are very specific. When you're a target individual, you recognize target individuals based on what they say. Let me say, I know there's real schizophrenia. I know there is real mental health issues. I know that. But as a target individual, what happens to us is so specific. It's so it's surreal. Like, we have the exact same testimonies. Listen, we can all have the same schizophrenia where we say the same exact same thing. We all have the same type of voices. Do we all unify to have like this, So it's obvious. It's obvious when somebody's a target individual or somebody's actually a schizophrenic. Because when they do these things to us, it's in a strategic way that they consistently utilize onto us. It's systematic. It's like they've seen what works, it doesn't work, and they stick to what works. What is said that needs to be said to get the result they want. That's what this is all about, to figure out what matrix, and like this man said, the matrices that function in regard to deception, the tricks that are going to work with the manipulations. And they stick to what's working and update anything that needs to be updated. So for me, just to wrap this up, listen, as a target individual, you will be deceived in so many ways, and they will use this facade of all sorts. The people participating in this program, no, they're not like monsters, and they're people like her. They get this anger, like they try to make, and you think the person who needs to be angry in this situation is me. They're making me cough. There's a little thing in my throat that they're making me experience. Excuse me. The person who should be angry, the anger should come from me. Why do you think there's so many mass shootings from target individuals? It's out of anger. Especially when you figure out who they've done that to. This Myron May. This guy is not somebody who would be this aggressive kind of person. But he went to a university library, shut up the places. What he said, the reason why he did this is because he didn't want to die in vain. So he wanted to make sure that people, he basically thought as, let me sacrifice myself for the purpose of opening up people's eyes about this. He've heard the testimony, he've heard what happened to. So his anger and plus his sense of honor is like, if I'm going to die, let me die for something right. Let me do this thing, which I would never do in other circumstances, but people are going to pay attention to what's happening because I did this. And he ended up killing nobody, thankfully. But he shot up a place where people got wounded. This guy was not a shooter. If it was somebody who's been experienced with shooting, for sure he would have killed more. This man didn't have no... He went there with a freaking vest, like a sweater vest, like a librarian. He didn't even dress like somebody who's about to be active. He ended up going to a place and start shooting the place up. This guy was an attorney. He was a district attorney at one point. A successful black man, non-violent, who ended up going to a library at a university and shoot up a place. And these people want me to be the one to not see. Listen, I understand that this thing is bigger than me, but I gotta ask God to give me strength, because I've been humiliating these people over and over. You just heard this horribleness. The reason why I say the same thing, I don't know who's watching my videos, but I will make sure that my videos are viewable. Now, there's going to be a lot of perps going to say whatever they're going to say. I don't pay too much attention to that because I don't even actually read my comments. But before this Machiavellic torture that I'm going to go through happens to me, I need to do my part. This Myron May went to a place and started shooting up a place. That was what he thought was the right thing. I don't think I'm capable of doing that. And I don't want to be capable to do that. But I'd rather die in hell. But before that happened, say whatever needs to be said. And let me say something. I'm being told how I'm going to be castrated, killed, and starved, and this and that. These people talking to me, some of these people are going through certain things. Some will, if they haven't. I'd rather die in hell, in the worst circumstances in my life, scream, than being in a program where this is happening and live my life countering what I'm just saying. This coward life torturing children too. Well, they'll get theirs. Maybe not today, but the day come. To all my target individual, to anybody who's watching this, please stay strong.